Yeah, okay, cool. Audio says it's behaving now, so I'm not gonna mess too much more around with that, and we'll just keep going. Sorry about that for the... I kicked everybody out, I guess. Well, whatever. Hey, you're back. Cool. Alright, sorry about that. Somebody's gotta yell at me next time if I screw my audio up like that, huh? Unless it's been working all along and it was just OBS that was lying to me. Anyway. This is where it's defining a single property, but it doesn't actually give it a value, and so this is not quite what is going to be helpful for us. So let's go find another test that's going to do this. Let's look in our tests. Here we go. Non-existent, and it will read the default, and the question is, can it read a configuration property without a value? Multi-valued, and then they set a value. Okay. So if we run this test here and then delete that property, this should fail. So let's give it a quick go. Okay, hopefully this should pass right. Oh, I did something dumb. Right, I need Java 8. Until we merge that other pull request. And by the way, the Java 8 build passed. For the quick smoke test, Java 11 will be done momentarily. And we have no failures yet. The compiler test is running in both Java 8 and Java 11. And that is a 5-minute test, give or take 4 minutes. These are not tests, but it's trying to run them as tests, so that's irritating. Here's the test itself. We'll see if that passes, and then we'll refine our command to only run the actual test. While we're waiting, the bug originally came from here. There's this configuration property that's defined. It's set up as multi-value false, and then it's read from the very final line. Nope, this is the wrong one. This one. It's read here. And it could be fixed by just putting a null in there. Or somebody else could actually set a property. Or we could just put a property in here. That would work too. But nothing calls this. As you can see, it's gray. It's package protected, so nobody can call it anyway. So that's a little confusing. We want to fix this anyway. We'd like to make it harder to make this mistake in the future. So system test all passed. Let's look for no, it's not multi-valued. It's here we go. Some configuration property. So it does it with a default, and it does it without a default. So let's put go find that good XML file corresponds to this. Where is it? Not you, not you, not you, not you, not you. Where'd it go? Okay. We're going to remove this line because that's the conditions of the actual failure. And then we're going to run this again, except I'm just going to put a dot class on it. That way it only runs the one test, and hopefully we get a failure there. But it should be the line. It should be a compiler failure. Yeah, we don't expect a particular line wrong here. Okay, so system test failed. Unfortunately, until that ternary fix gets landed, we're not going to get good output out of this, so maybe we'll grab that fix and drag it in here also. Port system is here. Internal compiler exception, problem replacing this, null pointer exception, source not available. Okay. So it did manage to dump this, so that's good. So I would like to hook up a debugger to this and figure out what we should have gotten here. Let's look at the values replacer itself. That's weird. Values replacer's right here. It just couldn't find it. That was a little odd. So it's going to say we've got a property. We will ask it to replace this. And this apparently will be null instead of empty. So let's see if that's just a bug that other things should have done differently. Let's see, this is 2014. Also rename some more classes to be consistently named. Okay, fine. Let's do Alt F7 and see what other references there are to this. So it assumes that there is at least not a null out of this. Let's see here. Maybe I'm wrong about what this is. No, it'll return an empty list. Okay, so it would have returned an empty list, which means this would have been empty, which means this would have been null. If this is not null, then it would continue on and return the literal. So exactly what was the null pointer? As by null pointer, check not null in your joiner. So the joiner must have had a single null value in it. That looks like the problem. But this doesn't make sense because it's already said that you can't have more than one in here. That is, in Unify AST, we have validation to make sure it's not multi-valued. So this doesn't make sense anyway. I think we just want this. I'm pretty sure that's what we actually want. And then if that actual value is null, we return that. Otherwise, let's see here. If it's a soft permutation property, then we get or create soft permutation method for it. And we call that, okay. And if it's not a soft permutation property, then we common property and binding info. Okay, it's failing, but it might be an acceptable failure. Index out of bounds 0. Okay, so it was a null. Hang on, what did I do wrong? I just did something dumb here. If is empty, return null. Otherwise, join on property values, which apparently contained a null. Oh, do we have to test both cases then? If it's empty, return null. Otherwise, return get 0. Now the coffee's empty too. At least I got water, but there's fresh coffee upstairs just waiting for me. Okay, so what were we looking at here? Common property and binding info get property value. What is this? An X get default value expression. Failed again. This again might be an acceptable failure. Problem replacing it, so looking like no. Cannot replace with null. Which means it returned null from here, which suggests that this returned null. I don't want it to return actual null. I want it to return a value that represents null. Let's see here. What was the value again? Default value expression 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth argument, which comes from create runtime property. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth argument, default value expression. This only gets called from one place. 1, 2, 3, default value expression. If it's not null, then visit it. Otherwise, it needs to be a null string. Default value expression, default value called. How's that look? We'll just say, hey, your default is null if you don't have a null. That's the correct behavior, right? If you've got a J shell or something. Right. No, that's not going to work either. Let's do... Okay. Unknown option D. Does J shell not get system properties? Looks like dash J in front of it. Do it. Yeah? Sorry, it's not foo, it's prop. Okay, that's not what I expected because I just passed in foo there. So I must not be setting it properly. Let's ask the internet. Get? Yeah, I know how to get it, but how to set it. Not helping. How to pass arguments? Yeah, that's close. That's environment variables. Closer. J shell args for each arg do arg equals variable. But this isn't print line. This isn't a get property. This is, though, dash J dash D. That's what I did. Okay, that should be what we're doing. I must have done something dumb. Do I need to be explicit about execution local? There we go. Okay. That is bizarre. Right, dash J. Okay, so now we got prop, we got empty, we got missing, which is null. We got missing with an explicit null, still null. We got missing with a non-null. We got empty with a null. We got empty with a non-empty, non-null. Okay, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this. Let's go check our test. Test failed. Again, not necessarily a bad thing. Assertion failed. Expected conf actual null. Okay, so this is a case where we are actually okay with that. I think this is what we're going to propose. So we're going to say some configuration property. I don't want that one. I only want this one. Some unspecified configuration property. Let's move this somewhere else because it really doesn't belong there. All right, so what's this test doing here? It's saying grab the value, make sure it's default, use it for other non-existent, and make sure it's still default. Note that default is not a string literal. It is a string literal. It's right there. Note that default is not a string literal. Oh, because you're passing in a value from here. Got it. We're reading some value and we're writing it over there. Okay, that's fair, I guess. Okay, so now we're saying some unspecified but defined system property. And now we're going to have to go back to the original author and say, what do you think about this? Does this make sense? Because this could satisfy what we're after here. I would still like to understand why we don't have source info here. All right, test passed. Let's go and break it again. Not here, but here. Okay, and now let's hook a debugger to this and figure out what it's doing. Let's go and modify common. See how our tests are running, by the way. Java 8 and 11 quick tests passed. And Java 8 and 11, let's just take a look over here so we can all see it. At a very quick glance, I don't see any failures anymore. That is unhappy. We're going to have to fix that. But not right now. It moved on to, oh boy, got a lot of those going on. So these are dev mode tests. Sort of not our problem. And here we are just beginning in Java 8 our tests. So we haven't gotten too far into it yet. Okay, cool. We'll come back to that. Looking good. Okay, so we were going to set an extra JVM arg to say, let's make sure that we get the ability to debug this. I forget where it's set. Let's see, this is user build XML. There we go. And we're going to have it pause because otherwise I might not be fast enough to catch the debugger. So it's going to stop as soon as the JVM starts with that suspend equals Y and give me a chance to click this debugger to say, let me debug every single part of this. And then we actually want to be, oh, where do we want to be in here? We want to just stop when it breaks. So we'll pause here and we'll set a condition like property values contains null. That's the bug. And this is not fast, of course. There we go. Okay, so now we've got property values, which is an array of null, which is weird. And X has some funky source info. System test 321. Okay, so that's right. That shouldn't be unknown. There should be nothing unknown about that. Are there enough characters in there to satisfy that? 321 is the start line. Yeah, that's right. So it should be able to nail this down and say, hey, this thing here is the important thing. Let's look at how many characters are in the file. 1,510. 1,510 is the start position, so that seems accurate. So what's going on here? All right, well, let's let it throw and see how it decides to take this apart when it gets the internal compiler error. What is the exception with this? Cannot evaluate toString. What's wrong with toString on that? There is no toString. Okay. It's defined up here, which runs the default text output on this. Is it because it has nulls for its defaults, result expressions. Let's see, that's the last argument, right? No, third to last argument. So we create it here, it has null, and here it has 1, 2, 3. Default value expression. No, that's this. Yeah, third to last argument. And the third to last argument here is default value expression. Create type rebind is going to be a null there. So that's not our exception that we're hitting. Let's try and view that real quick. Alt F8 x dot toString. Yep, I want to see this stack trace. It's a null pointer exception. Coming from the toString visitor. It's a GWT.get property. Okay, so it replaced that with GWT.get property. X get result values get 0 is not null. So X get result values must be null. Let's try that. Alt F8 x.get result values is null. Okay. And what is result value supposed to be? In a runtime property, result values is null. 1, 2, 3, 4th from the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. Result types is non-null here. We need to do a type rebind. So type rebind is a GWT create. It's going to use properties to figure out which type to give you. And result types is the second to last argument. Answers. So I think that's just a bug. I think it is always null if you are a type property. Your result expressions, no, not result expressions, result, what the hell do we say? Result value? Result value is always null here. Is this even accurate? GWT.get property? Yeah, there is no such thing as GWT.get property. Okay, so you provide the key, and then it's not result values. So type rebind is a check on the value type. If value type is property, then result values will be non-null. If that value type is property, then it will always be null, and this should be get result expressions. If that is not null, so this just was always wrong. Let's look at how result expressions gets used here. A requested value is the key, which is what it's reading here. It's not result. What is it supposed to be for the default? Because this is nonsense, right? So GWT get property doesn't exist, first of all. And even if it did, you can't have another argument. So instead of this, it should be default, right? There we go. That's what's up here. So default value expression might be the null literal. But it might be, this is tricky because it's hard to say, did you specify null or did you get a null? And the question is, how do we want to support this? Okay, so let's go to the bug report, and let's do a little thinking out loud there. Oh, well, let's check that source info not available, because I'm almost sure that's coming from the exception we just got. I'm just checking those tests real quick, because we are still quite a ways in here. Cool, I don't see a single failure yet. We still got hours to go, but it's in good shape there. No, that's not what I meant. Why are the copy and paste next to each other? We're just going to simplify this down. All right, let's verify that statement before I go ahead and hit send or anything embarrassing like that. We're going to step on out to get this to properly blow up. Oh, we should have stepped in there. That was a dumb thing to do. Okay, it's just going to tack on another node to the existing one. So, what nodes do we have? Node trace, description, source info not available. Okay, so before it does the next add node, we need to step in. It's going to grab the existing one we're about to throw. It gets the name of it. The source info is the class and the line. Great. And then node toString throws. Got it. Okay. So because that toString throws, we get this breakage. Okay, so we were correct about that guess. Oops. Let's look for, well, yeah, let's look for get property. See if it ever was going to exist in history. Maybe it got committed and then reverted and never got cleaned up. Let's do a get show history. Let's see, Roberto did this work here. Let's hide this. I don't need it right now. This is too old. This is great. Changing everything. Changing white space all over. I mean, it's got to happen, I guess, if you want to clean these things up. All right, GWT debugger. So we're back to 2013 here now. Async. Ray is back on the team. We're back far enough in time for that. Things broke. Move it forward again. Oh, this is when they did unload module. Oh, I'm so sad because that's gone now. That was such a cool feature. Prevent compilation, blah, blah, blah. And now we're back to John Tamplin. Heady days of GWT. Make GWT create usable on the server, and this never got finished. This just came up the other day. Make internationalization work on the server. All right, we are far enough back that this never existed. And someone's yelling at me, which maybe doesn't come through the mic because I I've set that up properly. So we need to put this in here, and instead of printing this, we need to visit this. How do we do that? Like accept this? Yeah, accept. Like that. But it's going to wrap it in strings now. Oh, that's not what we want either. Okay, so now we have the problem of printing this with a actual null. Why are you so noisy? I'm going to go ahead and denoisificate that for a half hour. If it's important, they can bug me later. Switch back so I can see what the stream junk is doing. And yeah, okay, great. 3 people still excited about system get property. So the question is, what do all right, let's look at the Unify AST test again, because the Unify AST test shows that it expects it to work with a multi-valued property that has no value. I'm sorry, not a multi-value, with a single value property that has no value. So we expect this to break if you call system get property. What if it's multi-valued? What if you have a multi-value with default? Right. Sorry, you can't read the commit I'm writing, or the message I'm writing. I'll move that back up when I do this next one. Okay, so let's look at another test here for system get property. All right, if the property doesn't exist, compile will fail. But this one says if the property doesn't exist, but it has a default. Okay, multi-value, compile will fail. And then finally, we have the undefined property. Yeah, we already did undefined property. We have multi-value. We've got undefined success. Where's the other one? There is no test for okay. I'm going to read this real quick, make sure I'm not in any trouble over here. Yeah, all right, I'm ignoring that. Does not look important to me. All right, I don't care about that. There is no test for a defined config property. Okay, so to be fair, not having a test for defined config property is probably okay because Unify AST's responsibility ends with, hey, I made a property. Let's find that because this class is too big. It's hard for me to navigate. So I think we're going to have to remove that again and make our own later on, just to get the semantics just right. So if it's a multi-value, we fail. If the property is not defined, and there's no default, we fail. But what do we need to do if there is a property defined? So if there is a property defined, it is, but no value is set. So that's what this is here. The closer we get here is defining a multi-value property, so we can fail on it. Only the later check, the later in J permutation dependent value. Okay, so do we have any tests for this? What do you think? That's a no. Let's go over all of our tests again for system.get property. Oops. We'll open the find window so we can kind of scroll through it. I don't care about production, I only want tests. The server side. That is interesting. This must be relatively recent. Yeah, it comes after the wait, what? Oh, it's a test. It's a test code. We don't care. I got really scared there for a minute. Emulation test, system test. Okay, so this is all the system test stuff. We should probably cover this next. Okay, so now let's cover this test here. Let's make this bigger so I can put them side by side and sort of kind of read it. No. Let's look at that one more time, where that good XML was defined. Emule suite.gwt.xml. Okay. Look at what the test actually does, just to summarize this real quick. Checking my test run. Looking good. No failures in either Java 11 or 17 yet. Excellent. And I think that's all we found for system get property tests. Nope, that is just for the logger itself. System get property. Oh, hey, here's another one. In do not run with dev mode. In dev mode, get property is routed to the standard implementation. Okay, so we're going to skip that remark about selection properties not working because selection properties are tested in system get property test. Okay, let's see where collapsed property comes from. It's probably in this XML here. It'd be easier if I just open it straight away. All right, we got a property provider that always returns 2 for collapsed property. And then we collapse it. So it must always define them. Let's see, read the comments, huh? One of the purposes of this test is to ensure that collapsed properties behave correctly, do not remove values, nor the collapsing of the property, as there should be no observable difference from the test perspective if this property was not collapsed. Okay, so we've got some dynamic property, which is set to be not in Safari or in Safari, with this little bit of logic, and some other dynamic property that's red and blue. If 2 is set, so it'll always be blue because 2 is always set, because this returns 2 even though 2 is a valid property. So it's always 2, which means it's always blue, and it is probably mostly Safari. So let's go check that out. Always 2 and always blue, and then sometimes Safari. Great. We don't use defaults in here, but that's probably okay because these always have values. Just double check, make sure that I phrase this. The property doesn't exist. The default, okay. Yep. Okay, cool. So we are testing that correctly. This only tests selection values of reading properties from property providers and from selection, from collapse properties. Okay. A non-multi-value config property could be defined but never set. Do we want to behave as though that is set to null? I think we got this covered here. That's the main question that remains. If this is not null, then we need to print out whatever the default was, which means we need to correctly emit in Unify AST that it's null. Default value expression might be null, which means our... Oh my goodness, where'd it go? The J-dependent property thingy. There we go. Needs to check for property values being null. If property value does not equal null, it is a configuration property. Okay. So how do we categorically say that? Oh, because we read it from configuration properties. Okay, that's how we read that. That's how we figured that out. The error is here because it's trying to join null. So let's put this code back and then say now property value is non-null. If it's empty, return null. Otherwise, return whatever was in there. If the property value was no, we can't tell the difference. We have to check if the size is greater than 0 to say if it's a configuration property. So we have to say if property values is not empty, then we want to use the property value at 0. Sorry, that's not what I meant. It's not property value, it's property values. Size equals 1. Now we ask if it's a soft permutation value and read it a different way. Now we can assign this just the once. So get property value. So this is binding info. Read the property value. The property value is not null. And we make a literal out of it. Otherwise, return default value expression, which means there was neither of these. We're going to return whatever the original expression was. That can't be null, though. Right. So do we support reading a property and returning null? That's the other question. Do we? So it seems that only a non-multi-value config property could be defined but never set. Do we want to behave as though that was null? I think we'll answer that in a minute. Next, if there... wait, is there a next? Hang on. Because the bug here is that we called system.getProperty, and we wanted to get a null back without supplying a default value of null. If we supply a default value of null, it's easy because this is a null literal and everything is fine. So that's pretty much it. Should we have said, wait, there is a config property. I think this is still going to blow up for at least one part of our test. System test is here. Some unspecified property. This will blow up. This will not. So I think this is what we want to test. Let's turn off the debugger and try it again. Because I think I'm happy with this. I'm happy enough to try it out and see what happens. We're going to switch to suspend no, because then I don't have to actually remove all this and re-add it if I screwed up again. We should also rerun the toString test to see if that behaves. So let's see, is this the only case? Only a non-multi-value config property could be defined, but never set. Do we want to behave as though it was set to null? Or, like with selection properties, do we want to require that the user pass a default value of null or anything? If we want to behave as though it was set to null, if so, we return and we'll see. Test failed, so I've still got something wrong in my head, which is why we're slowly writing it up, and we'll keep playing with this. User test reports system expected default actual null. On line 27. Right here. Wait, what? 27 doesn't make sense. Expected default actual null. Expected default. So I think we broke this one. We're going to change these here. That way they're readable. All right, that should make it possible to figure out which one's which. So definitely missing something. But this will be able to let us tell which is which. I think this is probably returning null because it's unspecified. And expected default, but it actually returned a null. In that case, we should have gone into... Why can't I read my own code? My own bars here. Where did the file go? Do I just need to close more of these things or something? Yeah, it closed it. Such a jerk. No, but this isn't where it reads it, is it? No, we need to go into the thing that reads it, which is J permutation dependent value. Yeah, okay. There's a visitor, though, that I'm supposed to be looking at. Resolve permutation dependent values, yeah? Yeah. Okay, so the test failed. Expected default 1, actual null. So for some reason it returned null instead of failing over to the default. So we want to look this up and say it's a property. If the property values is not empty, then there must be a single value in it. Return that single value. Except if it's null, right? Right. We can't do it if it's null, and it's not null. So if it is not empty, okay, so we do need to have that null there. You can't have a configuration property and a selection property with the same name. So once we've found a single one, we're okay, right? If property values is not null, then it should contain just null. We shouldn't be messing around with going and finding something else. It's returning the null literal, which means it's not returning the default value expression. So we say if property values dot get 0 is null, now we return this. And let's break this out to be a expression. There we go. I bet that's it. Check some tests. It's been an hour and 10 minutes. Java 8 is good. We've lost 2 tests in Java 11. TCK stuff for validation and GWT. All right, well, that's not terrible. 2 tests. I'm out of coffee. Completely out. I gotta quit trying to drink it because it's just mud at the bottom. Got a new grinder. Got a new coffee grinder. I don't know if anybody here cares about coffee. I mean, it is a Java stream. Ha ha ha. Where's Justin's stupid laugh track button? Build successful. Sweet. But yeah, got a hand burr grinder, which is kind of fun. I've been meaning to get a burr grinder for like 10 years, but I just haven't been able to justify spending $300 on one. And but I found that someone's got a $50 one that's apparently pretty decent quality. You do have to take it apart manually and fill it back up again and actually crank the damn thing. But it's pretty cool. It seems pretty nicely machined. Fun to play with. All right, let's look at this. We seem to have gotten all the tests passing. We're saying that if the only value is null, then we return the default value, whatever it was. But this damn well better be set. We know we can't get here. We know we can't get here. Because it's already been checked by Unify AST. No, we don't know that. We don't know that. That's not a true statement at all. If so, if we allow null, we want to behave as though it was set to null. Do we require that a value be set in the config property, which is to say validate in unit st? Require that? Do we require either that a value be set in the config property or a default expression including null passed to system dialog? All right, let's break this deliberately again. And then let's see if our toString fixes has gotten us somewhere. So we're going to fail the test. We're going to make sure that we get a proper log of what blew up, and then we're going to replace this. Let's go back to the original issue and put the note there. I'm going to go mention this in chat. Our build failed. Good. And now do we have a... Yeah, there we go. But it's got a null string. Oh, that's lame. That's wrong. Right, we shouldn't wrap it in nulls. Some unspecified property, null. Okay, we're going to grab this in just a minute and fix it. But the problem is some unspecified property, comma, null. Is that what we wrote? Yeah, it is what we wrote. So let's put this one back first and see if that blows up. Because that should blow up. But, you know, not here. Actually, that should blow up in the Unify AST thing. It doesn't matter. We'll have to rerun it again. So we got any more failed tests? No, it's a third one. We do have a third one. Custom constraint, quit suite, custom constraint. So 2 different instances have failed, and only 1 instance of RPC suite has failed. 11 tests failed in there. That's odd. Seems like more instances should have failed. Okay, so this is definitely wrong. Yeah, that's my own email. Get out of there. I don't think there's anything too interesting in there for you. Yeah, nothing interesting. Okay, let's go over here and just paste this also. Oh no, it just completely threw away my formatting. Oh, you jerk. Why are your computers so difficult to use? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to sit on this until he's had a chance to review this. We know that this is simply garbage, this line here. This should fail. Sorry, not that one. This one should fail because we haven't modified that behavior yet. So make sure we can read a null expression, make sure we can read a string expression, make sure we can compute other expressions. Let's go back and put this all in here again. Well, let's run it one more time and see how we're doing there. Make sure that null was escaped properly, or not escaped properly. I don't think there's any other way to break this at this time. Yeah, we're just going to visit that and let it be logged properly. Technically, this is wrong because you could have quotes in there, but, you know, don't do that. Don't be a jerk. All right, let's see what we got. Yep, It just has the null there. It missed the white space, but whatever, it's fine. Well, we do it over here. We emit spaces, so we're going to put a space in there. As long as we're cleaning this up, may as well do it right. Right? I don't see a good reason not to. Okay, we're going to get rid of this because this is unused now. Just garbage. And then we've got a new local over here. And then let's look again at system get property test. I don't think we need anything else here. I think this is pretty comprehensive already. Let's see here. Defaults will always be ignored for selection properties because they cannot ever be null. For binding properties. Okay, yeah, I think I'm happy with that. We're going to go ahead and just make a commit here for this, maybe 2 commits, and then pass it off. Okay, we need to fix safe HTML templates. Build passed, cool. So let's first fix the toString. And yes, actually, the technical term for that is magic method. That's what GWT calls it internally. All right, before we fix that, let's improve this other test to emulation suite. Is that the one I want? Yeah. Yeah, that is what I want. I might want to rewrite that to be just one return to handle default expression. I don't think this is possible anymore. I'm not going to worry about it. Yeah, I think we should have just exited out of this. Let's rewrite this. Let's rewrite this. No, not quite. Nope, this is not what we want. We do the check in here because we want to be sure that there was a value. It is a configuration property. These cannot be multi-value, but can be null. Read the first value. But we can't have configuration properties that collide with binding properties, so it doesn't really matter. I think, keep going back and forth. I'm getting stuck here. So what's the downside of doing this? Looking for a soft permutation property, you're never going to find one because this does not contain a property. This will not find one. property value will be null after that. And so we're going to return this. Yeah, okay. But we hit something. I thought there was some downside of this. Let's try it. We'll just comment this out. Oops. Only the one RPC suite has failed. And 2 copies of the TCK check for validation have failed. But only 1 failure. It's odd that there'd be a failure, not an error. Okay, that seems to work. What was I worried about? What I think I was worried about is that the configuration property might have some other value on it. Because it seems now I could simplify this to say if it's empty, use null. If it was otherwise, just grab the first value. And the first value then is the null we're going to read or not. So I kind of want to go back to the old code, go a little closer back to the old code. Right? And now we just hack away all this. Put this assert back in here. Is less than or equal to 1. Right? Property value. Yep. Put that back the way it was. Stick an assert in here. It was not set for this. Yeah, we'll be fine. Because that is simpler. This is a config property value. This is a binding property value. I think I might rename that too. Build successful, no failures. Okay, so we're going to go to this. I think that's better. Let's rename these so it's clearer. All right, let's just diff against what he originally wrote. Make sure that it is in fact improved. Like one line longer. That's obviously correct. Did I check that in? Am I a jerk? Oh, I didn't check it in, but it's part of the diff anyway. We added that to test that properly. Yeah, cool. Okay, I like it. All right, let's go figure what the heck happened with the RPC suite, huh? We can always rebuild that later. What's our previous branch here? Let's just look at our other follow-up branches. Here it is. I need to get some lunch. All right, let's see if we can get that RPC test to run. And hopefully even fail. We may need to run the right kind of test to make it fail. Hey there, go away. Insensitive CA, insensitive indeed. There we go. Okay, so I'm guessing this is not going to fail. I'm guessing there's a particular set of how this needs to work. Like it needs to be in dev mode or something like that. So we may end up running this one a couple of times. I'm using HTML unit web right now. Hey, I'm using Java 8. It's never going to fail. Java 11. Let's try that again. Let's also add in here the other ways to test so that we're running kind of like what it will do in, well, this is going to be harder to phrase. So we're supposed to disable web HTML unit, which is actually what I'm running right now, no meta HTML unit, and Emma HTML unit. So let's go back to the user build and remove web, no meta, and Emma. And see what's left. Did I read that right? I'm pretty sure I read it right. Disable equals true. Yeah, okay. So we want to look for targets that are HTML unit. All right, we disabled HTML unit. We need dev HTML unit. My hunch is that's what broke. Test dev HTML unit. Web HTML unit we said we disabled. Yep, web, no meta, and Emma. There's no meta. Draft. Coverage. I'm guessing that doesn't actually run. There's probably some other flag here. Run all tests. Here we go. Coverage, no meta, which we disabled, right? No meta. Draft, web. Okay, so this might be enough here. Just try running that one test in those several different modes, and then we'll come back and see what's going on. Okay, we're going to need to fix that. Dispatch class info. To call finalize. That's gross. It doesn't obviously call finalize. It must get a method passed in somehow. Yeah, it's a reflected member that gets invoked. What? Build failed. Cool. Alright, that was handy. Was very worried it was going to be an environment thing or some other tag I had to have set just right. Alright, we got coverage that did not get run. It's just web and dev. These look expected to me. This does not. Yeah, that's not expected. Alright, so it's almost certainly the dev test. Let's check this other one real quick. RPC test is, what's the package for this? Google Git RPC test. Google Git user. And it never even finished it. That's odd. Alright, well, let's remove the coverage one and just run the draft one, unless this is no draft or something funny like that. Then we'll go find the test itself and see what's up. It said failure, but I'm seeing... Oh, no, it is 11 errors. It's a bunch of errors here. This is collections test for RPC. Lots of things are grumpy in here, but that's just because it's hard to set up right. Prohibited package name. I mean, this is probably just a case of Super Dev Mode doesn't run very nicely. I'm sorry, Legacy Dev Mode doesn't run very nicely in Java 11. So let's look at test set factory create SQL timestamp array. That's weird. This doesn't look magical at all. but the error says it's loading and failing to load Java SQL. Do you need like an add module for Java SQL in modern Java? Yeah, you do. When you are using a class of a package starting with Java, yeah. Okay, so it's probably that we need to not emulate this. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so it's just dev mode. Dev mode is... Legacy dev mode is not going to work on Java 11. So maybe we just go ahead and turn that off if you're running Java 11. Legacy dev mode, anytime it uses any JRE package, stuff's going to blow up. Oh boy. Let's just see if we got an issue already tracking something like that. Nothing obvious is jumping out. Let's just search for just Java 11. Cannot build according to... This is almost certainly not correct. Oh, we'll just close that when another one gets fixed. No support for Jakarta, super dev mode hangs. Permits Java implementations of native interfaces with colliding names. Does not work in Java 9. Plus, hey, I filed that. That's probably not related. Oh, hey, this is exactly what we already fixed. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and handle that directly. We just got to decide if we're going to update tests in the same way. Probably we'll do that. All right, I can't see any other evidence of a ticket like that. So what are we going to do here? So we're using a custom class loader is the problem, I think. Compiling class loader. And compiling class loader is going to try and go grab stuff it shouldn't. Find class one. Let's go to 1223. It's going to say, hey, if I can get it from my Bootstrap class loader, then I will. Otherwise, I'll try to get it from here. So I think the Bootstrap class loader, At design time, we want to provide parent class loader to keep the default implementation. If it is design time, great. Find the loaded class. If you already have it, we're fine. Assert we have no parent. The Bootstrap class loader is a null class loader, specifically excluding classes from the class path. So that did not load our SQL timestamp or whatever. What was the class exactly? It was SQL timestamp array? Yeah. So the question is, do we need to add support for using our particular implementation, or is the JVM's timestamp acceptable to run in GWT? There's a nanos field. Are there any other fields? Doesn't look like it. What if we just say GWT script only? GWT script only, I guess it's called. And this is imported from Google GWT core client. All right, let's see if that fixes this. We're just going to run the dev test this time, because that's the failing one. Or if we need to get more clever or creative. Oh, there's another failed test. Another custom constraint instance. Fine. We have two faileds now in Java 8. Failed to deploy. I might have goofed the credentials. Oh, right. There are no credentials set for this. That's fine. That's totally okay. Crap. Okay, so Java 8 ran a lot faster than Java 11 did. It's a little surprising. Let's see how we do here. Then I think I'll switch over to the custom constraint GWT test. We might need a deploy check to say, hey, don't try to deploy if you are not on the main branch. Yep, RPC still failed. Okay. Was it a different class this time? Yep, that's expected. Expected. SQL data array. Okay, so we have to hit each of these and see if that works. My hunch is this is a fool's errand. Maybe I can go through here and find some other things that failed to be created. SQL time array. Oh, you jerk. Copied again. Go. This is the right one, yeah? Yeah. Let's start from the bottom. No, it's still having problems with timestamp. It was still 11 failures. Yeah, this isn't working. Hmm. 1150 in compiling class loader. So let's go back there again. Let's look around a little more because we have missed something. Script-only classes, so it checks that to see if it should have a child class loader to handle it. Don't see how that's going to work. If resolve, then resolve class, because this is going to throw here. Oh no, we gotta try catch down here. Okay. Check for a bridge class that spans hosted and user space. Get the bytes, compiling if necessary. So this should have thrown if has annotation class bytes. 1150, we haven't gotten there yet. Then we add it there, and we say go ahead and get your script-only class loader. And we do a class foreign name on that. Don't run the static initializer to lower the risk of deadlock. That's what false is for here. And then we say, okay, we're going to do it now. We'll define it ourselves and define classes where we blow up. Prevent reentrant problems where classes that need to be injected have circular dependencies on one another through GWT and inheritance. This check ensures that a class's supertype can refer to the subtype. Okay. And the eventual catch. Or is this just a try finally? It's just a try finally. So somehow it's expecting that thrown classicast exception would have worked. Okay, so GWT script only is got to be put on each of these. And if it does have GWT script only, find class bytes. Let's see what this is going to do. Anything that's going to use these types is going to blow up. There must be something magic that's happening for things like GWT date or array list. It doesn't seem to be, though. All right, let's try this one more time. Then I think I'm going to go get some lunch. And pick up with this tomorrow. Not tomorrow, next week. But if we're not actually decreasing the number of errors, oh, it might be that timestamp super class. And we're gonna, if that's the problem, we're gonna need it everywhere. And a whole lot more tests should have failed, right? Like, what about like date test? Why would this not have failed as it defined it in web mode? Let's try that next. I don't think I can let this go. Not just yet, anyway. might be beneficial to see how we're even getting into here. Oh no, we did get down to 6. Okay, so we're on the right track. Let's run date test while we're thinking. Timestamp is still giving us grief. Did we not edit timestamp properly? Is that the problem, maybe? Timestamp and SQL time array. Yeah, date worked. So somehow it's able to handle that one. SQL date array. It's just down to those 3. By modifying time and date, we're still... What are we doing wrong? Test set factory. Let's go back there. I'm doing something funny here. 787. I mean, this is definitely what I just added that to. What's the stat getting us in here? Is this potentially different when we get a call back from something? I mean, sure, let's try Java util date. Timestamp is going to extend that too, right? Yeah. Oh, hey, there's JS interop in here, so this won't work anyway? Or is this just to expose types? Yeah, this won't work anyway in super dev mode. Or in legacy dev mode. So why are we loading it? How are we getting away with running its own tests? What does the date test do? There it is. Wish I could read. See, this doesn't do anything special to say don't run in dev mode. So there must be some class loader check to say, hey, should we just leave Java util date alone? Let's look in strings just to say if we're doing something funky with packages. Here's my filter button. There it is. Skip JSOs under emulation. We shouldn't need to rewrite those as they will not be used in dev mode. Trying to do that will throw a security exception. I mean, that's familiar. But why aren't we getting Java SQL date hitting this check? Binary name starts with Java SQL. JSO type. JSO type does not equal null. Iterate through our JSO types. Okay, so this is just for JSO types. Yeah, we still got 6 errors. It's probably the same 6 errors. SQL date. So somehow it's still trying to redefine SQL date, but not Java util date, for example. Here's another if class name starts with member is in Jesney reference, could not be found. And then special magic for dispatching 2-string. So this is JSO specific. This isn't a JSO though. If we couldn't find the JSO class, we don't need to do any rewrites. I'm giving up. This is too far out of what I care about. I think we're going to turn off testing on Java 11 because I don't think we care. I think that this is just just a headache we don't really need right now. When Java 8 gets dropped, then we'll talk about killing this. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. All right, thanks for hanging out, everybody. I got to get going. I got to have some lunch and walk to the school bus stop. And then maybe put up a patch here that says, hey, just don't run dev tests because I don't care. This is not our problem. Right? We're just going to punt on all of this. It may work, it may not. Until we get someone who cares about this, we're not going to worry. So, thanks for hanging out, and I'll be back next week. I'm not sure if Justin will be around this week. I know he's done some research. He did some cool research into getting web workers working, and they actually reload and get code from the code server now. So I am excited to see how that pans out next time around. I'm probably not going to be able to join him this time. But maybe next week we can collab on something like that. So, see you next week.